Welcome in, everybody. It's Tuesday night. It's another edition of the Joe Quills Show. Yours truly, Joe Quills, here with you tonight. Got a couple of interesting stories I'm going to talk about here tonight, and I might even break into a racetrack announcer as well. I'll tell you about that in a second here. But as you can see there on the bottom of the screen, we have everything there that I'm planning on talking about tonight. Tim Anderson, he does suck. Uh, Utah State's coach is about to get fired. Um, Bronny, quote unquote, earned his way on the team, and got a couple other stories as well. Uh, got to get one print out here. Hold on a second, everybody. There we go. So we're all set here on this Tuesday night, and hopefully everybody's doing well out there. Me, I'm off the next 2 days. Yes, I'm off for the holiday, and I'm off um, the third Independence Day Eve. So if you see me at Parks Racing, I might have my Ultra Depends on celebrating the day. No, I won't. But but we'll get to it here tonight, and just to let you guys know, the reason why we may be doing um, I may be calling that race from um, Assiniboine Downs, which is my Quills Picks Winners race of the day. Um, that is because I'm on a three race winning streak. I hit the last race I had featured on Saturday, and I hit Sunday, and I hit Monday. So I got a dent into the I got a dent into um, the hole I'm in on the articles for the year so far, but it did make a profit last month. His name is Isaiah, but but also as we get away from bad jokes and stuff, um, I really think just trying to keep you guys interested, try to do something different. So, but tomorrow, well, tonight is going to be a late night for yours truly because not only do I have my race of the day coming up from Horseshoe, Indianapolis. I don't know why I chose to do this, but I saw it today. And Parks has a mandatory distribution on their pick five. And I did see it today. And let me see if I can find it here. And um, let me share my screen here, and hopefully you will hear me. So there you go. We have a mandatory distribution tomorrow at Parks. Um, Basically, the way the Philly Big Five, as it's called for this pick five, it's the same as the Rainbow Six and Gulfstream and the other tracks that still have these single ticket winner um, tickets. And the way that it works is when you do not have a mandatory distribution day, you have to be the lone winner. You have to have the lone winning ticket. And um, well, there's two ways that you can have it carry over. Either you have multiple winners, or you have nobody with 5 out of 5. And with the 50-cent increment, you do have a possibility that this can get paid out if you have a couple of long shots. But tomorrow's a mandatory payout day, so you are going to have some extra money in the pool. So it is possible you could have, um, and I don't know who is running tomorrow during the day. So you may see a huge pick five payout tomorrow at Parks, and also because there's no early pick five because with the mandatory distribution like that, they don't want to have an early pick five and then oh shit, what do we do with this pick five because it just paid out on that early one. So they make sure, but Parks does a smart thing and they don't announce a mandatory distribution until the day before. So um, so that's when I'm going to. I mean, that wasn't why I was going. I was going there because of Uncle Ernie, and I finally get to see him run. Um, Actually, I did see him run once, but it was before my Bleacher Brothers days. Um, but we have a mandatory distribution, $272,980. Um, there's going to be money thrown in there. I don't know how much. I mean, your guess is as good as mine, and hopefully, who knows? Maybe I come home with a couple thousand, and maybe I can give you guys a winner. But the one thing is, with a mandatory distribution like that, you do have um, I totally lost my train of thought there. So, um, but the one thing is with this is, you know, you have a mandatory distribution, and you know, you know, um, I'm trying to remember what I was going to say because I was going down this one path and I forgot it. So I'm in ADD ADHD form tonight. Um, so so that is going to start with the sixth race tomorrow. The Uncle Ernie race is race 9, and they will they'll we'll see if we can get any winners here tomorrow. So, um, but I'm just trying to think of what I was going to say, but I didn't. But it's probably going to come to me at like 3 o'clock in the morning when I go to bed. So, so that article that I have for tomorrow, that extra article, which will be the pick five, that will be posted tomorrow. There's also going to be an article for the Indiana Horseshoe Indy race. So you're going to get 6 races from me tomorrow. So, but the pick five starts in race 6. I think it starts right around 3 o'clock. Um, and bet early, bet often, and who knows, maybe we get some money. Oh, I know what it was. On a non-distribution day, I'm not giving out a pick five to you guys. And why is that? Let's say I have 5 bombers that hit, and I have all 5 bombers. There's a pretty good chance that I hold the single ticket. But if I tell you that my picks are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they're all long shots, a couple you play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you hit as well. Guess what? I'm only getting this much of the pot. I'm getting the pot from today, from that day's wager, and not the whole thing that's been accumulating because of this whole concept. So, but tomorrow, since it's mandatory, it turns into a regular pick five, and we'll see if we can bring that money home. So, so that's tomorrow afternoon at Parks. I should be there. It's just a matter of me getting up, getting out, and making sure that Uncle Ernie is running tomorrow. Because if he's not running, I'm not going. I'll still wager, but I'm not going. So, but that's it. That's everything in a nutshell here for that mandatory distribution here. And since I am I lovingly call myself the degenerate of Bleacher Brothers. Um, that's the term I prefer to use. Now, AJ refers to me as the horse racing expert. I consider myself far from an expert. Um, I prefer that I mean, I'm still learning. Even 30 some years after my first wager that I had, I'm still learning. And you know what? I'm still juvenile at times where I'll still bet the horse that takes a shit in the paddock last before they go out to the track, or if I see another horse taking a dump on the track, he's the horse I take. But you know, there's juvenile things like that, and sometimes those horses come in. You know, oh, why'd you take that 30-1 shot? What did you see? Oh, I took a shit right in the paddock right before he left. So yeah, so that's everything in a nutshell there with the Parks race. So I will be there, and forgive me, I got my other computer here. I'm setting things up here so I can keep aware of anything that pops up here because we did have that raid uh, last week with chairman of the board, and not only did he catch me off guard, I was not ready for it, and I didn't see. I mean, I don't get to see the alerts with the program I use, so I rely on the Twitch platform here, the stream manager that I have here. So I was talking about horseshit there, and a horseshit player got DFA'd today, and that is Tim Anderson, who uh, went to the Marlins this year on a 1-year deal. He got DFA'd today, designated for assignment, which basically means his ass got cut. So he got cut today, and um, he was looking for a bounce back season this year after um, not doing much in Chicago last year. Well, he only hit 214 with no homers and 9 RBIs, struck out 68 times and only drew 7 walks this year. I mean, he's a shell of his former self. And if you remember, I think it was last year, I think it was Jose Ramirez. Remember they got into that brawl at second base? And, the one thing is, you could tell that this was not a base brawl. They tried to turn it into a hockey fight because Tim Anderson's like this. He's bobbing and weaving. In a baseball fight, you don't bob and weave. You just start swinging. And maybe that's why he had a 214 average this year, why he had a poor average last year. You know, maybe that's why, because he didn't go swinging. He went there and he went to, um, he went to, didn't go to swing. Um, he's bobbing and weaving. Jose Ramirez got this one uppercut in, and the next thing you know, Tim Anderson went down like a ton of bricks. And I guess that may have been what we expected of Tim Anderson's career after that, because to be DFA'd from the Marlins, that's pretty bad. And he's I I I don't know if anybody would pick him up. Um, anybody waste a roster spot. I mean, but the thing is, you probably would only sign him for the minimum, which is about $750,000, because he's going to make that $5 million from the Marlins. It's just he's not going to be playing anymore. The rest of the money is just so get the hell away from us because you suck. But um, somehow he was a two-time All-Star. Somehow he won a batting title back in 2019, hitting 335. I didn't know steroids could help you hit 335. But seriously, he made two All-Star teams in 21 and 22. 335 average in 2019. He batted 282 with 98 homers, 338 RBIs, 117 stolen bases with the White Sox from 2016 to 2023. Now, is Tim Anderson one of the flukiest batting champions we've ever seen? Now, I could see winning a batting title once and getting close or being in the ballpark so to speak. Um, you hit maybe 250. 250 is too low. Let's say you hit about 290, 300, 310. You're something in that ballpark. Maybe you're about 11 to 20 in uh, the race for batting average champion. But to fall like he has, and trust me, I had him on my fantasy team a couple years ago, and I think the fall started in 22, if I'm not mistaken. But whatever it was, it really, um, it really was a quick fall. And he's only 31, so it's not like he's hanging around playing at 37, 38, 39, and then if in that time frame it falls off. It fell off much quicker. And um, oh dear Lord, Trey Turner's done it again out of the stadium, out of Wrigley Field, on the Waveland Avenue. It's 5-1 Phillies. Phillies are playing the Cubs right now, by the way. Um, but Tim Anderson played for the Southside team, and he is now days away from being unemployed. I don't see him going anywhere. Um, he may just sit at home for a little bit and see if he can get picked up somewhere because, he may. I mean, he may be the type of guy that ends up getting signed in August because we're only 4 weeks left until the trading deadline, which I think is either the 30th or the 31st this year. And the one thing I hate is how they've made it a variable thing. Like one year was August 2nd, and then it was the 30th. It used to always be the 31st. See, the one thing I'd like to see the deadline on the 15th of August, but I never get what I want, so it doesn't matter. I'm just a talking head with you on Twitch talking sports. But when you look at this, I mean, maybe there's an infield that has a major injury and they bring him in. But I really, but the thing is, teams do make moves that make you scratch your head, and somebody may claim him. I doubt it. Somebody may trade for him. I doubt it. I think they would rather, if they need an emergency shortstop, kind of like how, if you remember when Chase Utley broke his hand or his thumb or his wrist when in August in 2007, they brought in not So Taguchi, Tadaguchi, Tadahiro Iguchi. They brought him in from the White Sox, but this would be a different thing because you only had the one trade deadline, but you can still bring somebody in off the street like a Tim Anderson if you really needed somebody to fill in an emergency basis, like, you know, God forbid, um, somebody goes down. And, you know, I just don't know how much he has left in terms of that because, it was a quick fall from where he was in 2019, but we'll see. But, I mean, he may be signing in a couple of weeks for the minimum after, well, maybe next month after everything settles uh, with that trade, with the trade deadline. So, but that's where I think um, he goes into the gets back in MLB, or maybe he signs a minor league deal with somebody. I mean, sometimes you do have to do that, and you know, and also the Marlins couldn't send him down to AAA because he has too much time served in the major leagues to outright accept an option to the AAA team, which I think is in Jacksonville. So he could just say, "Huh, here you go. This is what I think." I'm not going to Jacksonville. For those that may be listening after I record this tonight, I just gave the camera the middle finger. So I don't see him. I don't see him getting signed or picked up right away. He's going to probably be released altogether, outright release, and then you go from there. But this was just a procedural thing that they do. Maybe they get somebody, but I don't see it happening. Tim Anderson, I mean, that knockout punch he took was kind of like how what his career has done. So, but you know, I mean, you don't want to go out like that, but you know, but like I said, Tim Anderson still sucks. Um, Now, one thing that does not suck is hockey. And I saw this today in passing on Facebook, and then I found what I think is um, a more legitimate source. I printed this up from the score.com, and um, just like the NFL, they are looking into expanding the schedule. Now, this is something that came out of the blue. Um, Now, the NHL plays 82 games a year, just like the NBA. And the NHL and the Players Association have engaged in preliminary discussions about increasing the regular season to 84 games by modifying the league's calendar, according to TSN's Pierre LeBrun. Now, somebody brought it to my attention on Facebook when I shared the post because, if you're a Facebook friend with me, and I haven't really done too much with sharing stuff lately that's sports related. Though I remind people every now and then, hey, if you see me sharing a bunch of sports stuff that you're like, dude, I'm not interested in this, knock it off. Kind of like how, some people post um, their playing cards of their professional wrestlers or stuff like that. That name will be nameless, but if Mike was here, he would know who I'm talking about. Um, but I would say that, you know, I sometimes I post stuff on there so that I can go back to it in that hour and a half I have between getting done work at 7:30 and coming and moving the chair over to here so I can work. So I have that 90-minute window. And when I have that 90-minute window, I could print up or just delete it or just say, I'll just leave it there to hell with it. Actually, one of my friends on Facebook actually said, they used to play 84 games. And I vaguely remember it. And it was, it's in this article here. Um, they played 84 game campaigns in 1992, the 92-93 season and 93-94 before slashing the two outings. And if I remember correctly, those two games were neutral site games. Like the Flyers had one game in Cleveland, and they had a problem with the doors with the benches or something. But they had two games in Cleveland. They had a game in Cleveland. They had a game somewhere else, somewhere that didn't have NHL hockey, and they were trying to grow the game. I think this was the beginning of the Gary Bettman era. So they did do two games. They went back to 82. Um, Now, the one thing with the NHL, for the most part, as opposed to the um, NFL. Well, first of all, this came out of nowhere. The 18 game schedule in the NFL, which is starting to catch steam once again, even though there's people that are for it, people are against it. Some just say, I don't care. Some of the players that don't care may even be guys that aren't even in the league in 2 years or whenever that 18th game comes about. But whatever it is, that you know, with the NFL, of course, you also have a better chance at long-term injury than you do in the NHL, even though that's always possible in the NHL. It's possible in any sport, truthfully. But this came out of nowhere, whereas it was like you talked about for a little bit in the NFL and calmed down. You talk about a little bit, I may even talk about it to my friends of like, you know, like if I were talking to my friend Mike, I'd be saying, I could see an 18 game schedule, but you have to have two bye weeks and you got to get rid of a preseason game. Now, that's basically what they're looking at right now in the NFL, but the NHL, there was nothing for like, I would say for 20 years. Now, granted, a lot of what they mention here, like a lot of what they have here, you know, you don't have any, you didn't have any clue of this. And, and, for the most part, I haven't heard players complain about the fact that they have to play 82 games because guess what? When they get to the playoffs, they may be playing a potential of 28 more games. But you know what? To win the Stanley Cup, like the Florida Panthers did, I almost called them the Florida Marlins. But when you have the Florida Panthers winning the Cup, you know, that 8, 9 months was worth it. And for one team, it's worth that 8 to 9 month grind. For the other 28, 29, 30 teams, it's not. It's not worth it. But, and the most bitter about coming up empty after fighting for the cup for 2 months in the postseason and 8, 9 months overall, obviously is Edmonton this year because they got to game seven. They almost pulled that miraculous comeback. They almost pulled what everybody was calling the reverse sweep. But in the end, they just got a little unlucky at the end. They had open nets and everything. They just couldn't get it done. And, you know, but I've never really heard an NHL player said anything to the effect of, I don't want to play 84 games. Or if we're going to play 84 games, you got to pay me two more, the equivalent for two games. But the thing is, you get paid salary. It's just that what they do to help players along is okay. Well, you're going to get paid on the first and 15th or whatever it is, whatever they do. But I just think that this came out of nowhere, and I know some of my friends will say more hockey, yes, but the thing is, you are making the season a little bit longer. I would say maybe a week, maybe. And the reason why the playoffs are so long, especially the final, is because they're running the same time as the NBA finals. So that's why you had 3 games off here, then two. Then you had 3 days between games, between one and two, I think it was. But that was because of NBA more than anything else. Or no, it was because of it was between two and three, and you could say, oh, it was that trip to Edmonton. Well, what happens if it was Detroit and Chicago in the finals? You still would have that 3 day break. So you don't have, and they're about what, 300 miles apart, if that. So, just because it's 2,600 miles or whatever it is from Florida to Edmonton, you still have to, I mean, you know, these schedules are pretty much predetermined. You do have the occasional, especially in the earlier rounds, where you have to fit it in. Where some teams, like if the Flyers were in the playoffs this year, The Rangers definitely were in the playoffs this year. Um, the Blackhawks, if they were in, uh, Bruins were a good example this year. You know, you have to fit everything in because because there are some arenas in the NHL which are which have multiple teams in there. Like the Flyers have also the Sixers right now until 2030, and they want to move downtown, but that doesn't seem to be going anywhere right now. But I haven't heard anybody complain about 84 games. But then again, we haven't heard about this. Um, you know, I mean, since they went back to 82 games from 95, 96, and maybe somebody that's more in the know than I am, which is basically everybody, may know that hey, there was talk in 2010, let's say, or 2012 about an 84 game schedule. Maybe that's the case. I don't know. But for the most part, this came out of nowhere and I saw it today and I was like, well, let me talk about this. So so I did look around and I did confirm it and it was on the score. I think this is a reputable site. I think it was on other sites as well. It was just that I wanted to print it up here so I can mark it up. Well, I didn't even get a chance to mark it up because I ran over to the printer behind me as I was starting the show because I'm a dope. But um, just to give you an idea of how long the season is, the regular season starts on October 10th, started October 10th, and Game 7 of the Stanley Cup final was June 24th. Now, the thing is, when you're running your final the same time as the NBA, you're trying not to step on each other's toes because the NBA will crush the NHL in ratings. That's a given. But it's been 30 years since we've seen an 84 game schedule. And I do have to respond to that Facebook comment I had. If I didn't already, I'll say, hey, I remember it. Um, it was the it was when they did two neutral site games a year. You were considered a road team in one. You were considered a home team in another. But if this does, if this is agreed upon, it has to be agreed upon through collective bargaining. It's kind of like how the NFL with the 18 game schedule, it has to be collectively bargained. And you're going to have the Players Association and the NFL are going to have to give something back to or have to get something in return for that 18th game. A little more revenue, a little more piece of the pie when it comes to the revenue, something like that. But whatever it is, they are going they this is just in preliminary discussions and it may happen that nothing happens with this. It may be that there's a new collective bargaining agreement by the time this um, okay, so it did say in this article um, they did mull an 84 game schedule in 2022 to create more regional rivalry matchups, but it wasn't it wasn't that pertinent of an issue, I guess. So, but either way, um, I don't think this is anything that's going to happen in the near future. Probably, well, the collective bargaining agreement expires in September 2026. So I am guessing the 27-28 season, the earliest you may see that, unless they hammer it out in the next 6 months, this portion of it, because you can have an addendum to a collective bargaining agreement. I know that firsthand because, um, because I work from home. And that's the great part about it is if I wanted to get done at 7:30 and start at 8 o'clock instead of 9, I can do that. I don't have to worry about racing home, wonder what I'm going to talk about, anything like that. I can print the stuff up. I can go to, be looking during the day. It's like, oh, this is interesting. Oh, this is interesting. Oh, let me get this article started and then get distracted by other things like I always do. Um, but it was collectively bargained that the agreement, the work at home agreement, would continue into the future with my company and my job and my department. I mean, obviously, if you know where I work at, there's certain positions that you have to work in the garage or whatever because there's nothing you can do. You have to be there. There's nothing. But a department like I'm in, which is redacted, and my employer is redacted, I can actually sit here, like today, woke up at 10 o'clock, read stuff on my phone till 11 o'clock, catching up on things that happened overnight, and had breakfast and got ready for work. But when you have the 20-foot commute from the bedroom to the computer, you can do things like that. Um, but any changes to the schedule like that have to be collectively bargained. And now I'm going to have to see, just for my personal knowledge, was this just something that just wasn't working out, or was it something the players union said, no, we ain't doing this? Um, but it may be a situation where two more games, okay, give us a little more money for salaries or something like that. But you could see an 84 game schedule in a few years. Um, but one thing they did mention as well, they want to end the Stanley Cup playoffs earlier in June. They've also discussed adjusting the calendar by trimming the preseason to 4 games per team, opening the regular season earlier in October, and handing out the Stanley Cup earlier in June. Now, what I think they should do, and this is me, and this is a comment that one of my friends had years ago. I think it was maybe even when we were in college together. Um, it may be. I mean, he made the suggestion. Well, let's give out the Stanley Cup on Memorial Day. Now, it is a little harder because you're not, but you're going head to head with the NBA playoffs. But the NBA playoffs around uh, is around earlier than you because they're in the conference finals around that time. So you got a basketball game playing every night. But me personally, I think that what they should do, you know, and the question is, do you want to see September hockey to start the year? September games that matter, I should say, because you do have September games that are called the preseason. Or do you want to have a Stanley Cup given out in June? And I think part of the problem is they're trying to fit themselves in with the NHL, with the NBA, because they run concurrent with the Stanley Cup final. And that's it's like when you're sitting there, it's like, oh yeah, they gotta wait they got 2 full days off to go back on the ice, and that's why the Stanley Cup final seemed like it took forever. And if you're a Florida Panthers fan, when you went to 3-1, then you went to 3-2, then you went to 3-3. it seemed like forever between games because you wanted to win that final game, but you you had to keep you had to think about the game four loss for a couple extra days, and then you had to think about game five as you're going back to Edmonton. Then you have to think about it again when you're coming back to Florida, and had another couple of days to think about it. So, um, maybe if they move things up a couple of weeks, or maybe even a month, maybe you can also have it where the 7 games are in 15 games, like 15 days, like it used to be. Because it used to be that whenever you started game one, you had to finish that by the 15th day. So let's say the Stanley Cup final was on June 1st. It used to be it had to be done. The last game had to be scheduled for June 15th, unless there was extenuating circumstances. Like for example, some of these arenas that have NBA and NHL, they also have concerts. You know, and I mean this time of the year, it's not as many concerts because of the fact that um, you know, especially here in Philadelphia, you got a couple of great outdoor sites to take in a show. One is over in Camden at the amphitheater there, whatever the name of it is this week, Freedom Mortgage Pavilion. Uh, but um, but um, you do have other events there as well, and that's why the NHL schedule has already come out, and for the seventh straight year, I think it is now, seventh, I think. Even though, um, even though I did see a game at T-Mobile Arena this past season, the one thing I look at the beginning of the year is I look to see when the Flyers are going to be in Vegas, and it always works out that I can't go because there's it's like on a holiday week, like this season's game is on January 2nd. Now, if it was on Christmas week, even though the prices would be, I need some trundle. Can you can you use that in a sentence, please? Can I get the country of origin? But when I looked at the schedule today because I was like, everybody was saying how the schedule was out. Uh, like Skarner. What? I don't know what let me Google that. Maybe you know something I don't know, which is not a surprise. Oh man, I really gotta brand alt you, huh? Now I searched the word Skarner, and hopefully I'll remember what I was talking about here, and if not, so be it. Um, the first thing I see with Skarner is a reference to League of Legends. So not sure if you're referring to that or not, but uh, vehicle. Temperature scores from the. But yeah, I'm just trying to Google here because every once in a while you know you get things that's like, huh? John Adams Day? Well, we do have a. I will give you a. Um, I don't know if you call it a fun fact or not, but John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, and James Monroe all died on July 4th. Hmm. But technically today technically is Independence Day, even though we celebrate on the 4th. Um, John Adams said July 2nd is the correct day. Well, he's been dead for over 200 years, so his uh, his offspring have to go back there. And Trey Turner's having a good day. Yeah, he had two homers and distracted me on the second homer. I got the TV on over there. Um, and I am using the Google machine way too much here. And I have no clue what Orn pizza is. And welcome in ZZ Sour as well. I see that you're a first time chatter in the room. Um, yeah, and I don't know what Atrox Pizza is either. I see Atrox is a game character in League of Legends, so you're, and I have, everybody. Apparently, everybody knows the rules. Everybody but me. Um, but I'm not a League of Legends guy. I do some gaming, um, but mostly sports games. But eventually, I will get into gaming on here on the weekends every once in a while. But um, uh, is there a lucky lady in my life? Um, yeah, it's Rosie Palm and her five sisters. Uh, but but seriously, I'm just having fun with these people here. I have no problem. As long as it's just it's we're just having fun here. Whatever. It's not that big of a deal. But you know, uh, can he bring over some henny and get lit? Well, I don't drink, so that's just my choice. Um, I don't, I don't have a some people choose to drink. I chose not to anymore. Just my personal choice more than anything else. But That's what she said. What the heck's a Zoolander? I mean, I've heard of the show Zoolander, but water with the lemon slice. But Phillies are up 6-1 as they stretch it Wrigley Field. Um, Cubs are one of those borderline teams right now. But it, um, Doobie Brothers at the Met in '86. Um, I was still young. I wasn't going to concerts yet, so I didn't go to any concerts or whatever that young. I was still in grade school at the time. But Beastie Boys, yeah, why not? Um, they had a couple of good albums, and then one of the members died, and they don't do anything anymore. Well, the one is actually pushing up daisies because he's been dead for a while. And if you need a plumber, let me know. I got, you know, living in an apartment like this, I have maintenance to do the work for me. Let's just hope they don't raise my rent too high. But no soda past 9. And do I remember Joe Coyle? No, no, I don't. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm going to be up late tonight because I got Chris Boyce doesn't ring a bell either. I searched Joe Coyle wiki, and I get the Joe Coyle that was a former professional Scottish football midfielder. Football meaning soccer. So, um, so that's probably the wrong Joe Coyle. Um, um, Joey Coyle, the longshoreman. Um, did I shoot 50 Cent? No, but um, I did get angry the one night when I gave somebody 50 cents and they only gave me a nickel back. I was like, what is this? A double feature at the at Parks Casino or something? But yeah, now that I'm looking at it, I'm scanning this wiki story that Ensur is making here. An armored truck drops millions of dollars in Philly, and Joe Coyle picked it up and kept it. I vaguely remember this, um, but I didn't know that he died by hanging. But um, February 1981, I was not born yet. Whoops. I was born sometime in the 70s, but he was not I vaguely remember the story, and I see that um, um, I did see that um, there was a movie called Money for Nothing in 1993. What did your parents do for a living? They put up with my bullshit. Um, yeah, but yeah, I definitely now might have to actually find that movie and watch it over the next couple of days since I'm off. But you know, I was on Bouvier Street today. Yeah, I was going to ask if it was North or South Bouvier. Let me see here. Bouvier is about between 16th and 17th. Um, just for those that are looking, I'm looking on a map here, just because it's like every once in a while you may see a name, a street name that you recognize, and some that you don't. Um, kind of unfamiliar with that name, but you can find it. No, that's if you're talking about North Bouvier Street. Um, you're you're talking about. I mean, especially in North Philadelphia, you are talking about an area that is um, crime ridden, ghetto, slum, hood, whatever you want to call it. Um, you know, it isn't that great of a neighborhood. And I guarantee you there are pockets of Bouvier Street in South Philadelphia which probably aren't that great either. Um, because you could have a crime-ridden neighborhood anywhere. Truthfully, it's just that you won't see it in the far northeast because that's where most of the Philly cops live. You know, you know, fuck around with a cop and find out, even when they're off duty, especially in that area. But but it used to be it used to be that the line of demarcation between good neighborhood and bad neighborhood was, at least in Northeast Philadelphia or Northeast ish, was the Market Frankfurt line. If you were to the west of it, bad neighborhood. If you were on the east side of it, good neighborhood. It's just that the bad neighborhood portion has expanded over time. You know, um, you gentrify one neighborhood, and then it's like, oh, we can't live here anymore, or there isn't anything to live in anymore. So they do, um, but they do, you know, but everybody has the right to live wherever they want. And I'm living here where I'm at. I'm happy here, nice and quiet. Surprised the fire alarm didn't go off, because that's the luck that I would have. But um, but yeah, I mean, you do have bad neighborhoods wherever you're going. Um, so just want to see one thing here. So I think that our friends did disappear here. Um, you know, I'm not going to kick them out because they give me some entertainment here. So um, just making sure here. One second here, everybody. Okay. Okay. So it appears they left. So, not that big of a deal, everybody. But, the thing is, I'm the type of person where if you're going to, if you're going to talk, I'm going to try to respond. And, if you're going to leave it up for me to make a joke like the Rosie Palm joke I had, about having a girlfriend, whatever. You know, I mean, I'm pretty private with some of the things, and some things, you know, if you really know me, you know the answers to those questions, and it is what it is. So, but going back to the Flyers here, um, kind of like how with Major League Baseball for a few years, I always looked to see when the Phillies were going to be in Chicago, because if it was a week that was not a holiday week, especially because baseball, they announce their schedule like a year and a half in advance. Or I'm sorry, they will announce it. They've been announcing it earlier and earlier, and they announce it in July, it seems, for next year. Um, but you do have, um, you know, I used to look as soon as it was announced, even first draft, that the first official draft before they fill in the start times of each games, or tinker with it a little bit, like, okay, well, we can't have that first game, we can't have this game at 1 o'clock, we got to have it as a 7 o'clock ESPN game. You have that, but the schedule is pretty much set in stone. And um you do have a, um you can see every year, probably in a couple of weeks, will be the 25 schedule coming out. And I would take a look and say, all right, well, I could go here if I get the week off. I could get here if I get the week off. And in the early 2000s, I really started looking at Chicago because it's a simple flight. It's a 2-hour flight direct from whatever airline you want to use. I was using Southwest more back then. Um, but you would uh, take the train, you know, or the the orange line uh, to the loop, and then you transfer to the brown or the purple lines to where I was staying in Chicago. Um, but I looked at the flyer schedule, and it was January 2nd, 2025, Flyers and Vegas. I'm like, ah, shit. So, um, so another year that I won't get to see the Flyers in Vegas. Just the way that everything's going to work. Yeah, I mean, with where I am in seniority at my job, I'm not going to get that day off or get that week off. And I mean, I already have a couple of days off that week, but extending to the rest of the week is probably going to be not there because the people at the top seniority are going to say, F that. I'm not working the second or third. Watch this. Excuse day, excuse day, excuse day, excuse day. And boom, it's locked. So So you do have a um, so you do have a that's the one thing I do with the Flyers. I look at that, and hopefully the NBA schedule is out earlier this year because with the whole in-season tournament last year, that was the reason why the schedule wasn't out till like the middle of August. So we're trying to figure things out. I don't think they made any announcements of how they're going to have the teams broken down into six groups like they did last year. So, um, but that'll be interesting to see as well. But they don't have um because it used to be up until you had the in-season tournament, you used to have NHL and NBA schedule almost like they were announced at the same time. You get the NBA, the NHL schedule makers, and you go to the NBA schedule makers. Hey, you ready to release your schedule? Yeah, I am. Okay, I'm going to release ours, but make sure you release yours as well. Got it. And they, NHL schedule, boom, and then the NBA schedule, boom. But you know, but I'm not really looking at NBA games to go to. But, be nice to see the Flyers on the road in Vegas. And I would imagine it'll be a lot of Flyers fans in Vegas because even though Vegas does have a strong fan base, it's just that um, they don't have any, they don't have a, I mean, people do get in from other cities, but they've been growing. They won the Stanley Cup a year ago. They do have a strong fan base, but I mean, stronger right now than the Flyers because a lot of Flyers fans, shockingly, and I say shockingly because I think Flyers fans are the equivalent of Dallas Cowboy fans. You know, other sports, like football, for example, there's such a long waiting list. I think it's like tens of thousands of years or whatever. But um, you miss you get to the point where um, you have all these um, you have all these different people that are waitlisted, you know, and and also with the way I think they still do it, you can still be blacked out if you don't sell out your tickets, but that's not a problem with the Eagles, for example. But I don't think they do that anymore. Um, but you do have a um, but you do have with this day and age with technology and you know flights being at your fingertips, Amtrak tickets at your fingertips. You can go anywhere your team's playing if you really want to. And that's why the last couple of years when the Flyers fans said, F this, I'm not getting season tickets anymore. I'm not buying single game tickets anymore. That's why, like, when the Rangers came to town, it sounded like a Rangers home game because the Rangers fans who could not afford to go to Madison Square Garden came down and probably spent less for tickets, parking, Amtrak, however they got here. But, you know, so Um, so they did make that announcement. Um, um, the NHL schedule's out, and and also they're talking about expanding, but it's early in the process. So, but anyways, I mentioned the Utah coach here, Blake Anderson. He was the former coach at Arkansas State, and he recently went to Utah State a couple years ago. He's had a 3-year career there. He's been there 3 years. They've gone 23 and 17. Um, he was informed by the school that they are planning to fire him, and I'm not sure if it's for cause or not. Because remember, if you get fired for cause, you lose your money that you have on that contract. Take a look at Bobby Petrino when he was with Arkansas. He he ended up He ended up having a relationship with his secretary. They got into a motorcycle crash, and I think he faked. I think he didn't tell the truth with the relationship and this and that. So they fired him with cause, and it was a um, it was a topic that came up at Drexel when I was in sport management there, and um, he deserved to be fired with cause. So um, so they're not saying whether this is a cause issue or not, but some of the details does indicate it could be a cause issue. And of course, that will go through the legal system. But Utah State did inform Blake Anderson of its intent to fire him after an external investigation of alleged noncompliance of Title IX policies that require full and timely reporting of disclosures of sexual misconduct, including domestic violence. It was announced on Tuesday. Now, isn't that how Joe Paterno got fired when he was planning on retiring at the end of the year because he also got cancer towards the end of the year? Wasn't that the reason for it? Was because of not reporting to his superior, the athletic director, the school president, whatever. But it's part of the reason why I hate Penn State so much because you know they tried to sweep that under the rug for so many years. But um, but Utah State did say today that the investigation stemmed from actions taken in spring 2023. So this is a recent issue that violated both his employment agreement and university policy. Now, if it's employment agreement, this is telling me this could be an issue where it's for cause. It also alleges Anderson violated rules that prohibited employees from investigating disclosures of sexual misconduct themselves. So it seemed like and a lot of this is um, not coming up here. I mean, and not all details are here, and we don't know exactly what's going on yet. Maybe out there at Utah State, there's more going. They know more. Maybe it's just because this was last updated around noon. There may be new information, maybe on another site other than where I print my articles from. But um, now his attorney, Tom Mars, issued a statement regarding Utah State's decision. And he said, like any university, Utah State could fire Blake Anderson for any reason as long as they paid his buyout. So, oh, you're wearing a green shirt and it's not in Utah State colors? Gone. Even though you could, well, we don't want you coaching here anymore. Boom. But here's your money. Go away. Here's your buyout. However, based on the facts alleged and the language in Blake's employment agreement, USU is going to be fighting an uphill battle if they try to fire him for cause just to avoid paying Blake what he's owed. Now, this is where you get into some of the morality clauses, if you want to call it that, in this contract, because it's more than just 5 years, $15 million. I figure with a smaller school, he probably isn't making as much as, let's say, Ohio State's coach, Michigan's coach, etc. But the way that this looks, it looks like that there is cause here to fire him, because you're not just going to fire him just for the sake of firing somebody, especially somebody that's 23-17 in 3 years, won a Mountain West title a couple years ago. If you're firing him with a 23-17 record, it has to be for cause. Unless there's some sort of negotiation and comes up in these 14 days that says, all right, well, pay him X amount of money below the buyout, you know, just don't say it's for cause. We'll negotiate a severance fee and I'll go on my way. So, whatever the case is, you know, this is looking like it's a cause issue. It looks like that there's more going on here. And, you know, it seems like he may have, and we don't know what exactly is going on here because this is a vague story here. But um, I don't, I don't know how you can, I don't know how you can keep, how he can keep his job. But, it is a case that looks like it could be a reason for cause. Um, Stiffing a head coach by blaming him for what his supervisor allegedly failed to do is a novel approach that has been tried before, but that theory will never hold up in court. So, is he the residual factor here? Is this a ripple effect where we clean everything out, football wise, or is there something we don't know that happened here as well? Because it seems like there's more to this than at least what's on this article here. Deputy Athletic Director Jerry Bovey and Director of Player Development Austin Albrecht were also fired for violations of university policies related to the reporting of sexual and domestic abuses, domestic violence, and failure of professional responsibility. So something happened. We know that. Two guys already got fired. Now the question is, did they get fired for cause? Because if they got fired for cause, then the head coach is going to get fired for cause. But it doesn't say here in the article. But um, but they talk about different things here, like, um, as leaders were responsible for ensuring allegations of USU policy violations are investigated. Now, did he not cooperate with the investigation? Because that's crime number one in any investigation, you know, whether you have immunity or not. Um, Today's actions are a result of a thorough external investigation. We believe the evidence demands immediate action. Yeah, and with the outside investigating, you don't have anybody internally trying to look away from something. You have somebody saying, "Hey, this can't be done." Um, um, they also say here, our job is to fearlessly hold ourselves and others accountable for their conduct and to make sure that for the sake of our students and our community, we are living the values of our university. While recognizing the impact of these decisions and our student athletes and our football program, we will continue to take the steps necessary to deliver a respectful, transparent, and winning culture at Utah State University. So somebody got shit. So he got shit canned. Why we don't know, but it is what it is. Now I did see this right before the start of the show, and this was something that was unrelated. I mean, this is something that I'm looking for. Maybe if there's anything that's happening at the last minute, and I'm looking, and I was like, huh. So if you're a Detroit Tigers fan, or you've watched a couple of Tigers games because you may have the MLB package or whatever, or maybe you're in Detroit even though you're not a Tigers fan and you still watch the Tigers games. Um, Ex-Detroit Tiger Craig Monroe is facing criminal sexual contact investigation. So, um, this is definitely something that's popped up, and I I googled this just so I can see, is there something that is is this true? Because I kind of want to make sure it's true, because if I'm looking at something that's totally false, my ass is on the line. And I doubt, you know, when you're trying to do something that's serious here, like a story like this, you do want to make this as you want to be as accurate as possible, especially when you have something like this that affects the lives of others um, that have been affected by this heinous act. Not anus, heinous. So don't start that. So Craig Monroe, he's a former player with the Tigers, and he's a current television radio analyst covering the team, is subject of a law enforcement investigation into alleged criminal sexual conduct in Florida, according to records obtained by the Detroit Free Press, where I got this from. The news comes weeks after Tigers and Bally Sports Detroit pulled Monroe from broadcast following allegations of sexual assault posted on social media. So it started there, apparently. And maybe it was, oh, he raped me, and you get enough traction with something, it's like, we gotta look into this. But um, a spokesman for the Charlotte County Sheriff's Office confirmed the authorities are looking into Monroe, but declined to provide additional details. And probably the same reason with the case with the Utah State coach, there aren't many details either. But there is an active investigation. Anyone with information is asked to come forward. Uh, on Tuesday, the Free Press filed a request under Florida's open records law with the sheriff's office for documents pertaining to Monroe. Record provided is heavily redacted, but indicates on June 12th that someone with the office spoke with a caller about an alleged sexual crime. Um, his He was pulled from his job after the June 9th game and has not worked telecast since. Um, since the Tigers and Bally Sports confirmed removing him from the schedule, noting the misconduct allegations posted to social media. Um, and they give their typical, we're pulling him while he's under investigation, blah, blah, blah. And Cubs hit a 3-run homer at 6-4 in the ninth. Um, uh, Network said you should question, any question should go directly to him. The woman who posted the allegation said in at least one video she already approached police. The Free Press messaged her with message with her Saturday through X, previously called Twitter. At which time she said she was consulting with her lawyer. The Free Press reached back out Tuesday and have not heard back. Um, so, um, um, Craig Monroe takes these allegations of this nature very seriously, according to his lawyer, Michael Manley. He would never condone such despicable conduct. Part of a statement knowing that his client with law enforcement, blah, blah, blah. But the one thing I will say is whatever happened there, just don't put yourself in that position. I've said it about Trevor Bauer as well. You could say, oh, he's innocent, he's guilty, he's this, he's that. But the thing is, whether you are, whether you did it or you didn't do it, you know, the court of public opinion will screw you over big time. And he probably will never work in baseball again because even though he may be found not guilty, if it goes all the way to court, you still have to deal with the court of public opinion. And, it's just a sad thing that that happened. Whatever happened is a sad thing. And, you know, uh, but the one thing I would say is just don't put yourself in that position. It's plain and simple. But Trevor Bauer does have that arrogance, bad teammate vibe. Um, you know, I think there's more to it than just the sexual assault allegations. There has to be more there why he's stuck in Mexico right now playing for a Mexican league team and not actually playing for a major league team because there's something going on. And but in this case, he probably is not going to have a job in sports ever again. And you know, if this is an allegation that's true, then he deserves to be thrown into jail no matter what it is. But it's a matter of letting the courts do what they have to do, the police do what they have to do, everybody do what they have to do. But it is a serious situation that they're looking at right now down in Florida with him. So, one last story here, and little cleansing of the palate here, but I guess we can laugh at some of the things that the Lakers said here. Um, Apparently, Bronny James earned his way onto the Lakers. I don't know about you. I disagree. Um, and like I said I think I said it last night. I might have said it last week. I don't remember. Um, you could. He probably needed another year, and being around his father all the time, maybe he said, maybe it was his decision. Maybe it's not. Maybe they're lying like a politician here. mean, since we're post the first debate, and we know politicians lie and they make empty promises. But in this case here, Ronnie James, after Bronny James thanked Coach J.J. Redick and Vice President basketball operations and GM Rob Pelinka for everything they have given to him after drafting him 55th last week, Redick corrected his young guard. Rob and I did not give Bronny anything. Bronny earned this. Bronny's earned this through hard work. The bullshit is getting high. Kind of like the poop in San Francisco. They still poop in San Francisco outside, right? Because I know that was a problem a couple years ago. But um, LeBron was there. His wife, his mother, Bronny's mother, they were both there on the side. Um, um, Now he averaged 4.8 points per game on 36.6% shooting, 26.7 from beyond the three-point line, 2.8 rebounds and 2.1 assists in 19.3 minutes per game at USC after going a heart procedure last summer. Nearly 5 month layoff due to the medical issue affected his development. And I could see that. I can see that as a issue. So I will not argue that statement. I will definitely argue that he's earned his position on the team. I can tell you what he earned. He earned it because of his last name being James and his dad being LeBron. Plain and simple. We know it. And the Phillies won 6-4, by the way. So Mercado gets his first major league win. And we are minutes away from the featured race at Assiniboia Downs. I have the wrong race here. No, I got the right race. Okay. So we got the 6th race here. It's going 6 furlongs on the main track. Um, they're only up to the 5th race, so they're way behind tonight. So we probably won't be calling this race live. So we have they're only up to the 5th race, people. So, but anyways, Bronny said, I felt like I could have been perfecting my game more. I feel like I've been given the opportunity to showcase what I can really do because I I wasn't given that much of an opportunity at SC. I'm excited for what is to come. But, I think that he probably needed another year in college. But the thing is, he can play in the summer league. We can see how he does there. He may end up being in the G League for a little bit. I imagine that might happen. I'm sure they're going to have, you know, different ways. And, he may improve over now in the start of the season. Who knows? Or he may stay stagnant. He may regress. We don't know. But his contract's expected to be finalized before the Lakers open up their summer league slate in the California Classic against the Sacramento Kings. Both Bronny and their first round pick, um, Dalton Connect, they will both be playing in that game, and in the also in Vegas for the Vegas Summer League. NBA Summer League. But Rich Paul of Clutch Sports said the Lakers and Bronny, he's the Lakers and Bronny, the Lakers and Rich Paul had discussed a multi-year contract that would assure him one of LA's 15 full-fledged roster spots. Now, they're doing what they can to keep him on the roster, even if he's the 15th man and doesn't dress a lot of nights or plays in garbage time when the Lakers are up 40 or down 40. Unless they know something and we don't know, that LeBron is only playing one more year, even though they're talking about that 3-year deal. I'm just speculating. But as of right now, LeBron is not with the Lakers or any other team right now. But we know he's going to stay with the Lakers because he is. Um, his son is there, and that's even more incentive for him to play there because he said numerous times over the last couple of years that he wanted to play with his son in the NBA. Now, LeBron's agent did say his client would be willing to take a pay cut below the 3 years, $162 million maximum contract extension for that he's eligible to sign. But the Lakers' attempt to acquire Klay Thompson fell through because he wanted the state tax relief and go to Texas. So he may still get that full 3 for 162. But the Lakers trying to strengthen the roster and would include two future first round picks. Would include the two future first round picks that are eligible to be traded should the right situation present itself. I think if a right deal comes along, we have to put in the draft picks. We will. Um, he said before acknowledging how the first and second apron structure of the new collective bargaining agreement has placed limitations on teams. I have to see what that means. I have no idea what that means, but I'm just mentioning it because maybe somebody knows what it means, but I don't. But but he acknowledges that this first and second apron thing makes making trades more challenging. Um, Bronny said that a father-son pairing was not in his motivation to declare for the draft. Uh, Rob told me that there's a great development system here, so I just want to come in and get my work in and get better every day. I never really had a thought of me going to play with my dad. It's always there. That's always there to take part of, but that wasn't the main focus of mine. So, and Bronny will wear number 9, honoring the late rap artist Juice World, who referenced the number in his music. Bronny also has 999 tattooed vertically behind his left ear, but I call BS. You know, I think if you were to ask the remaining teams in the draft, I think there was only a couple left. I think if you were to ask them, hey, if you were going to, if you had the choice, your pick that you ended up with or Bronny James, truthfully, who would you go after? And I guarantee you it's not Bronny. Because this was a late second round pick, you probably could have drafted Stephen Hawking, and he's been dead a couple of years. And before that, he was incapacitated for years. And every once in a while, if you see it on Instagram, you can look and you can say, "Oh, by the way, what was the last thing that Stephen Hawking said?" And it was the Windows sign off sound. Do, 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 do. But um, but yeah, they definitely did that because they knew LeBron was opting out, but he's doing what he can to get back to the Lakers, you know, and if he had signed elsewhere. Now, if I was a team that wanted to F around and find out with the Lakers, I would have drafted Bronny and say, "Hey, you want Bronny? Give us this guy." And you try to fleece the Lakers. You'll see how strong that family bond is, what they believe in, because you know now maybe Bronny improves, and in a way, I hope he does. But even though it's a second round pick, the limelight may be too strong for him. He may end up being a deer in headlights. But whatever happens, he's not going to escape being LeBron's son, especially when LeBron is, according to some people, not me, the greatest player ever. Michael Jordan's the greatest. And I may put Wilt Chamberlain in front of him, even though Wilt Chamberlain only won a couple of championships, because they changed the rules of the NBA around because of Wilt Chamberlain, in my opinion. Even though I never saw him play because I'm too young to have seen him play. Um, but yeah, so um, I just think that LeBron is, I mean, Bronny, little nepotism involved. Oh, let's make sure we draft him because, but the fact that they're negotiating the fact that he has to be one of the 15 guys, that's nepotism. Um, but, we'll see what happens. And maybe when he's in that summer league, maybe when he's in the summer league, he ends up, um, maybe he ends up lighting things up. But anyways, that's going to be it for tonight. I'm getting some low bandwidth issues here, so that's why I'm starting to look a little funny on the screen here. So I do apologize for that. So let's call it a night here. Just a reminder, no show on Thursday. Going to have two massive articles tomorrow. One with the Parks big pick five mandatory payout, and also Horseshoe Indy as well. So we got 6 races I got to look at tonight. But I'll give you my picks for those 6 races. Maybe I get lucky and I am at 4 races in a row, looking to get to 10 if I hit all 6 races. Doubt it. But um, drop back in Monday night as I'll take Thursday off for the holiday, and we'll see whatever happens. And also check out Also Eligible. That's on the Bleacher Brothers Network, and we will get everything set up for the weekend of racing across North America. So, do appreciate everybody for joining me here tonight and watching after the fact. And I appreciate my buddies, whoever these 3 people are, because I think they're people I know. I just don't feel like going through it. But anyways, do appreciate everybody. I'll catch you on Monday night at 9 o'clock right here on Twitch. And by the way, the Bleacher Brothers handles and platforms are where you will see the Also Eligible show. So uh, that's it for now. Catch you Saturday on Also Eligible. Catch you Monday here on my Twitch. And have a great holiday, everybody. And don't be like Jason Pierre Paul. Good night, everybody.